Hey guys! So, I was thinking today I'd talk about Pikals. I actually made a video last night, but I ended up making two new Pikals that sort of represent everything I've learned about making Pikals and some additions. So I decided not to post that video and just get along and make this one. So, this is serial number 100. When I made these Pikals, they're part of the same serial number range as the rivet lock bulk small. And so the rivet lock bulk small and the rivet lock Pikal are in the same serial number series. That's why it says 100 here, because at number 100 I made myself a Pikal, which was this one. This one was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed it. It fully opened up the sort of full range use case of what some people call a reverse grip and some people call Pikal. There's a lot of names for these. But in short, if you have like 10 out of 10 tasks, right, let's just say, this knife, right, will be able to do all 10 of those things pretty well. A Pikal is better at like 7 of those things and like vastly superior. When it comes and then those last 2 or 3 things, it's completely useless at. So if you carry a Pikal, you're kind of forced to carry a regular blade. And if you carry a regular blade, you're not necessarily forced to carry a Pikal unless you like the convenience of a better performing design for most of those tasks. So, you know, for example, opening boxes is better, cutting tape, cutting string, cutting rope. Nearly all those administrative tasks that people would otherwise carry, like, say, a folding knife for, Pikals are actually better. The downside, of course, with Pikal is that they're much more difficult to sharpen. Let me just quickly show that, because otherwise I'm going to forget about it. When you're sharpening one of these, you really don't want to get that tip over the stone. You're literally, when you're going, you stop there. You don't drag that tip across your stone, because if you do that, you start to eat away at the tip, and then instead of the tip being nice and pointy, it starts to curl back up and down, and then the back, you need to also sharpen the back. So not an easy knife to sharpen. But again, how often do you really need to sharpen most knives unless you use them poorly? You know, run them through sand basically. I mean, I've carried all my knives that I carry, 99, you know, something like 80% of them have been 5160 over the last, 10 years or something, and I've never had to sharpen almost any of them. You know, maybe remove a few kinks here and there, but even 5160 or these spring steels, like, if you treat your blades good and you know how to use them well, you don't really, like, you don't really need to, if you have a strop and stuff, you don't really ever need to properly sharpen them. I use the knives every day, all the time. So, this one's been touched up a couple times, maybe. I guess there's a difference between sharpening and maintaining. Sharpening is when it's completely dull. Like if I were to go for like if the military called me up to go and do some exercises for 3 months and I just brought a couple of knives, then at the end of that, there's a good chance I need to touch them up a little bit, but... So this is very gorgeous. This is very nice in the hand. This curl at the end really makes a lot of sense. And that was later on down the line than this one, which is a single bevel one. I dropped the tip on the ground, so it's got a damaged tip. It's single bevel. It's kind of got an ugly side. That's why I kept it. It was mostly like a test. I wanted to see how single bevels work. And the nice thing, single bevels make an enormous amount of sense when it comes to these talon-shaped clip point blades. It really does make a lot of sense. But of course, yeah, anyway, it doesn't have an ura here like the Japanese yanagibas or anything, so you're kind of be forced to maybe put like a micro bevel on this side. But anyway, when you got a single bevel like this, it makes sense, because then you're, you know, cutting like this, and when you're cutting like this, you got that flat side. It makes a lot of sense. This one has a nice handle on it, paracord, just a rough jobbing. Yeah, it locks into your hand. It feels really good, this whole profile. Even though the single bevel made a lot of sense for this, I just don't particularly like this knife. Maybe it's because the tip is damaged. Oh, actually, I think it's because I did a kind of ugly job on this side. Clips in, rivet lock buckle, basic stuff. You know, all of this Pikals, all of it started maybe 3 or 4 years ago. I was making these before I was making Pikals, basically. All the cutoffs. So you see, when I make a Bowie knife, this clip point, I cut off from the stock material. I cut off at an angle, and I get a triangular piece from here. And I use that to forge these. And I've made hundreds of forged karambits like this. And this is just a nice little EDC. So I appreciate and I really enjoyed karambits, you know, before I even knew Pikals existed. And then a customer, he was like, "Hey, do you make Pikals? Have you made a Pikal?" It's like, "What's a Pikal? I've never heard of this." And I did some searching around, and it's like, "Oh, cool, this is actually kind of interesting." So I made myself one, played around with it, made an enormous amount of sense to me. It felt like a superior knife design than what most people, they have like a folding knife or something like that, but they don't realize that actually like the better option for them most of the time is a Pikal. I'm surprised Pikals are not more popular, even though they are super popular. And they get a lot of hate for some reason, but anyway, this is basically a Pikal micro karambit. And this is so old that it's before the times that I was doing these rivet locks in that fashion. So, but I decided to keep this one because it's nice and dandy. So we kind of gone through some iterations here, and then what I ended up, so I don't carry this one anymore either. I don't, you know, carry this one or these other ones. This is the only Pikal that I carry now. And it's just like that. It opens up. It's a awesome blade. Nothing super duper special. It's got a stainless steel case. Super narrow, which is nice. Means I can throw it in a pocket, put it around my neck, and you can't see it through the shirt. The way I use it, so just so you can see, I don't need 2 hands to operate that. So what I do is I grab it here like this. I push with my thumb away. Then there's these friction thingies. And I push it against my body. So let's do that again. So it's very important that you can just use it with one hand. So this is very natural shape. I like this a lot. I would like to see more folding knives like this in the market. Not necessarily friction folders, but like actual Pikals. Handle this. It's funny because it's very slippery handle, but because it's got such an intense curve, it really locks in. And yeah, this is basically my most used knife right now. I use this more than anything else. It's actually, this scalpel is a close second place or first place. But almost every knife I make, I need this knife to finish the product. For example, like on the inside of these sheaths, what I like to do is chamfer the inside of the mouth so that the rivet lock goes in more smoothly. And you see how little steel I have in there to do that, to just cut around. So if I'm, for example, cutting this chamfer here, see, I can just, you can't see it on camera, but just like that. So it's, for sneaking into nooks and crannies, the Pikal is really amazing, you know. One example I like to give is, for example, if you've got like two poles that are tied together with a string, you can jab this in there between the poles. Your edge is good. You just slide it up, grab the strings, and cut it. So this backwards motion is very natural. This type of motion is very natural. It's just overall a very, very natural profile. The Pikals as a whole, not just this one, but like Pikals in general, are very, very they feel very natural to use. This one's been sharpened a couple times, actually, just to take away some of the machining edge. So it's a convex Scandi style grind. Yeah, so it's just overall, I've noticed they grab, they cut. You can sneak them into nooks and crannies. Just overall, like, quite a wonderful knife design. And these are the ones that I finished yesterday. So this one was actually just a prototype kind of thing. And this is where I wanted to test. One thing I noticed, for example, with some of these other Pikals and some of these other knives that I've been making lately, is I kind of wanted to have a second finger hole here, to have two finger holes. And then one thing that I wanted to test is the thing with karambits, the thing with Pikals is that you don't really want to have a choil on them, because you're going to be cutting into a fabric and pulling. And the natural motion is to pull either this way or this way, and either way, if you have a choil there, it's going to get caught up. So on Pikals, you really don't want to have a choil. The problem is they're pretty difficult to sharpen already, and if you don't have a choil, it makes it a lot more difficult. So what I thought about here is that instead of having just a choil, it's actually a thumb groove. So it's both a choil and a thumb groove, and what happens is now you don't get that issue of the material snagging into the choil when it comes to these. So you put your thumb in there, you got the two other fingers locked up in there, and this feels amazing. This is great. This is like a really nice solution. So just a couple finger grooves there. I don't have any serial numbers on this one. Then there's this one, which is serial number 1. So instead of continuing the serial number series from where these Pikals left off from, I decided, you know what, I'm just going to start from 1, and then it's Rivet Lock Pikal series, because we got Rivet Lock Polka Medium here, which is this is 24. I think they're up at 30 almost. Then we got the Rivet Lock Polka Long. I don't think I'll make a Pikal version of this. It would be completely unnecessary. This is like just one of my favorites. This is just so much fun. It needs a little bit of improvement works on some areas. I need to, basically what I did on these with the end there, that drop pommel thing, I need to replicate that on these. Luckily, I haven't made like more than 10 Rivet Lock Polka Long. So from there to there to there, and then yeah, so this is number 1. And so I just applied everything that I learned in the past from making, I don't know, maybe 60 or 70 different Pikals. And so this is sort of the combination of all that. We got a sharpening surface on the back here. We got a nice clean edge here. And then it's a choil / thumb groove, which works very nicely. And then you got those 2 finger grooves there for your index finger. And what's interesting is that you can also put your 2 fingers there and then your palm into that. So your you're holding it like that. So that's kind of interesting too. It fits both grips very nicely, and it's very stable in that grip. It wants to stay there, which is nice. So it's very natural feeling. I didn't put full tang holes in these because I don't know if you really need it, to be honest. Because it's the Pikal is such an it's so like it's such an EDC knife. Here's number 2. That like you're better off like just a narrow handle like this, because you're anyway gonna be, it's gonna be in your pocket, around your neck. I don't know, I didn't feel like it was necessary for these. I might do it later. I'll make like 10-20 of these like this first before I start adding holes, because I need to think about it a little bit still. Where am I going to end those holes and how far is it going to go, because we got that finger groove here. So we'll see. Maybe but the string is still possible, and I'll do one of these with a string, or one of the later ones coming. I made a whole bunch of, I forged a bunch of these that I'm going to be working on today. This one is super nice. I think this one's my favorite of the Pikals yet. Just really, really cool. Chunky. And see, the thing is, the hollow grind is really what brings the rivet lock bulk to its maximum potential. So it's this, the hollow grind is really what allows these knives designs to really work. So really it was just getting a new machine. So this one's number 2. And there you go. That's really all there is to it. These 3 will be up for sale. I just need to make some sheaths for them. Yeah, I don't know what more I can say. I really like Pikals. I really enjoy them. I don't know what price range these will be just yet, because they're actually kind of difficult to make. And yeah, get yourself a Pikal from somewhere. Get one of these. Follow me on Instagram. And yeah, have a nice day. These are basically what the rivet lock bulk of Pikals are gonna look like from this point on. They're all gonna have the same features, and eventually I'll add the 3 holes, so that if you want to, you can put your own scales on there. But for now, I'm just gonna keep it like this, because I don't know. I never needed handles on my Pikals. I think it's a waste of effort. Like this, I never ever felt like I needed scales on this one, and I carried this one for like a year or 2 or something. I've been carrying this one for a year now, and it's even thinner and it's more slippery, and I literally do not need thick handles or scales or anything like that on any of my Pikals. It's not like a carambit. It's not like one of these where you kind of do need scales or a bit of a handle. It's just, and then with this one, it does have one. It feels nice, but it's so chunky when it's got a handle on. So this is it. Can't wait to see what number 100 looks like. I wish I had a better way of doing serrations, because it would be really cool to do one with some consistent serrations. But I think that's it for today, guys. It's a pretty long video. I try to keep them short. I don't really want to keep dragging on a bunch of random details, but this is an introduction really to the rivet lock Pikals, so it kind of had to be this long. It kind of had to be this way. The new rivet lock Pikal series. So there it is, ladies and gentlemen. Have a good evening, or have a good day.